Hello friends, and welcome to Figure Study, where we appreciate the form in Transformers, or try to anyway. Today we've taken a look at Titan's Return Broadside, and I just wanted to get this out of the way. Because, I mean, yeah. So, Broadside is a triple changer, as I'm aware at the moment. That's kind of normal for Broadside. And yeah, I mean, I know that sometimes with triple changers, one mode suffers for the sake of the other two, but dang. This is... oh boy. Yeah, so anyway, what we're looking at here is supposed to be a jet, and it kind of has the jet look. I mean, it, like, obviously from, like, here, that totally looks like a jet from like, here down. But all the rest of this is not so great. And, I mean, I'm pretty much exactly where everyone else is, where this jet mode is definitely the weakest. I feel like if these winglets on the back were bigger, if the legs straightened out more and actually closed in this gap here, I feel like this would be a pretty solid jet mode. As it is, I mean, I am giving it a hard time like virtually everyone else. I don't think it's like... I'm playing it up, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Like, yeah, this mode is pretty weak, but it's not the worst jet mode I've ever seen. But it's certainly not great. It's just, yeah, I feel like they really could have done something else with these legs. They could have done... I mean, they could have done a lot of things. But mostly it's the legs. I feel like if these were straight and could actually close up this gap, and if these little wing bits were either bigger or flipped the other way, which I know you can pop these off and have them face the other way, but that's not how it comes, so that's, you know, that's how I'm showing it off. Yeah, I feel like that could have been better. But it is what it is, and honestly, I enjoy this guy's other modes enough that I'm willing to overlook the fact that the jet mode is terrible. And I just like to pretend it doesn't exist, so we're going to move on from this real quick. But first, going to do some size comparison stuff. So here we have Broadside in jet mode, and then here we have a Titan's Return Deluxe, and our gold standard of Samus. So yeah, it's, you know, it's about what you'd expect for a Titan's Return, what is this, Voyager? I don't know, whatever size class this is, like, it's about what you'd expect. So we'll get everybody out of the way here. And before I forget, might as well get the other bit that I don't care about out of the way. Close you up. And take a look at Broadside's Titan Master. I think this guy's name is Blunderbuss, and the reason I remember that is because I think Blunderbuss is actually a really fun name for a Titan Master. Yeah, not terrible looking, zero paint as per usual, but at least they mixed up the plastic colors a bit. Yeah. And then, of course, face on the back. Yeah, it's okay. You know, there's some nice detail in there. It's just... it's a Titan Master. Yeah. Oh, and I should probably talk about the one redeeming factor in my mind, really, of this jet mode, aside from the fact that the cockpit itself is actually kind of nice. I do like the color scheme on Broadside in general. And this jet mode also works really well, just like the red, the gray, and like this blue. It's a nice mix of colors, and also like the darker gray and the lighter gray. It is a nice mix of colors. The breakup of it is a bit weird towards the back, and I also wonder if the color distribution was a little bit different back here, if that would help kind of mask the the absurdity of this jet mode a little bit more. I don't know. But yeah, so that is the jet mode. And let's just move on and never talk about this again. So here we have Broadside's carrier mode, and this is awesome. I really, really like this. The jet mode, again, gonna pretend that doesn't exist. But this, totally worth it. For me, Broadside turns into an aircraft carrier, and that's it, and that's fine with me because this looks great. I mean, yeah, he's just a flat surface with like the little control tower on the side there, but I'm okay with that. And it does look really good. It's a nice shape. It's got just the right amount of detail to please me. Like just all the little lines across the deck there, the little molded bits to show off like potential like elevators and whatnot. The Titan Master just kind of pegs in. I mean, you can pop this back and it makes like a little seat for the Titan Master, but I feel like that just ruins the look of the carrier. So I like to just have him standing on deck. Then you've got the place where the planes take off and land. And now I did do a tiny bit of, I guess you could call it customizing here. When you get this guy out of the box, this sticker just goes over these cables that are laid out. And that was no good for me. I didn't like how it did, as a lot of people have pointed out, like it made it look like there were speed bumps. So I just took an X-Acto knife and just lightly cut along one side of the cable, lightly cut along the other, and then just peeled up the excess. And as you can see, it's not perfect, but it definitely gets rid of that speed bump look. So glad I did that, because that would have bugged me. The one thing that kind of is weird to me about this carrier mode, I mean, it's pretty. I really do like the way this looks. But like the Titan Master, if you really think about it, especially considering the... I don't have them with me. I just kind of toss them in my closet because I don't plan on ever taking them off the sprue, but he does come with a small sprue of planes, and those planes are meant to represent the aerial bots that form Superion. If you look at the size of those planes, they're teeny tiny, which means when they combine up, Superion would basically be about as big as this Titan Master. And that's weird. I feel like they may have played a little bit too fast and loose with scale. I mean, they do that normally. It's Hasbro, but still, a little weird to me. And also, even without the whole Superion comparison, I mean, look at this guy. He's standing next to the control tower, or, you know, whatever you want to call it, for an aircraft carrier. He is massive. And he's just the head. It's a little strange. I'll get him out of here for now. And yeah, so I do like also how when you're looking at the deck of the carrier, it's pretty much predominantly gray. And aside from just a couple of bits, like here and the strip along here, it's all pretty much the same shade of gray, which I think works considering what this is. The thing that kind of annoys me is the decals for the 3 and 6 are a little bit off. Just like ever so slightly. One is higher than the other. But I can live with it. It's just a little bit, you know, eh. And then, of course, if you look at this from any angle that isn't from the top, it's kind of, it's okay. Although I do think, I wish those would stay a little bit better. I do think that this actually does not look bad from this angle. Like, yeah, you get a little bit of that darker gray, the little red there, but like overall, it still kind of gives the illusion of like just a solid plank of boat. I do think it's a little strange though that we've got the little 36 decal there, but nothing here. And I get like when this is transformed, that's facing out, but I kind of feel like realistically that should also be here because that's facing out when the carrier is, you know, sailing along. I don't know, but yeah, I mean it's a really neat mode. This is definitely my favorite of the two alt modes. I'm sorry, the one alt mode. This is the alt mode. This is the only alt mode that exists for Broadside. And for size comparisons, real quick, bring in our Titans Return Deluxe again, and bring in Samus so you can see how that all works. And he's, you know, pretty much the same as the Jet. I mean, he's kind of off the ground now, but definitely longer. There. And you all come with me. Right, so as far as I'm concerned, as I've said, I think Broadside's carrier mode is just really neat. It's just, yeah, he turns into a plank, but he does it really well, and it looks really good. It's like it's simple, but it's not, just because of like all the detail there, and I imagine it does take some doing to get a robot to completely flatten out like that. But anyway, I think it's time to finally get around to the robot, don't you? Yeah. And here we have Broadside in his robot mode, and I am kind of... Okay, so I like the robot mode to a point. The wings bug me. I do have a way that I kind of work around it, and I'll get to that in a minute, but I'm just kind of going based on stock right now. So yeah, he does look good. I mean, I do... Like, this kind of goes back to that Jet mode color scheme that I did like, where it's the dark gray, red, light gray, a little bit of blue, and I think that all works together pretty darn well. I also do like that you get a little bit of splash of yellow in there, and right there. And I do also like the asymmetry of the shoulders. Like, the bot mode itself isn't asymmetrical, but just like the little bit on the shoulders there. If we move this up, bring him a little closer here, you can see the actual like lower shoulder detail is the same on both, but it's just this upper detail where it's a little bit different, and I like that. And I keep seeing these as like, I don't know if these are supposed to be missile racks, but I keep seeing them as floodlights, and in a way that actually kind of intrigues me more. Just the idea that he'd have like shoulder mounted floodlights. But anyway, yeah, I do like the color scheme. I do think it's broken up pretty well. And it's like, it would be a little weird that his legs are almost entirely red, but then that little bit of red up in the chest actually does a really good job of kind of pulling it all together. And then with the whole dark gray, light gray thing, I think that also works really well because, yeah, while all the dark gray is in the upper body area, it works because you get the lighter gray kind of interspersed in there, so it kind of just pulls it all together. So that is cool. And bring him in here to look at his face. And, I mean, as with virtually any figure that I have, I don't have any kind of real commitment or attachment to the character. But I do like that face. I mean, it's like, it's generic Transformer robot in the sense that it's, you know, squarish head, visor, mouth plate. But it works, and there are lots of little touches that I think help, just like these little extra bits of detail on the top here, the little added nubbin on the end of the mouth plate. It all just... it works. It it works pretty well. It kind of, like, yeah, it looks a little generic, but it also looks a little bit different. And then I'm not entirely sure what these things next to his head are supposed to be. They almost look like they could open up and fire missiles, which, I mean, that's gotta hurt your ears. But if you don't like it, you can just push it down. And then you have non-collared Broadside. So yeah, I mean, this is good. The only thing that really bugs me is the whole wing thing, but then if you don't have the wings out, then you can't get that extra bit of posability. But what I actually have found I kind of prefer to do is I pop this up a little bit, and like this is actually like a double hinge here, so I just kind of pop it up at this first hinge, and then once that's up, I twist these down, and I actually twist it so that these flaps are kind of slightly under the big flap, and then push them back a little bit, and that actually gives me just a little bit of backwards shoulder articulation, which, yeah, I mean, it's not super great for tons of posability, but you can kind of angle it back a little bit. And I feel like when you do that, and you kind of, you know, mess around with that a little bit, that head, there we go. No, you stay. You stay how I put you. There. So I feel like that actually helps with his profile a lot, and it also kind of makes it look like he has a cool little cape. And it's silly. And yeah, it does kind of limit the posability a little bit, but honestly, like, due to shelf space, I tend to keep my figures in not super dynamic poses anyway. So something like this, I think, looks really cool, gets those wing bits out of the way, and also gives him like a neat little extra feature. That I know a cape isn't really like a Broadside thing, but just for this, I think it looks cool. And I also wanted to point out, as completely pointless as these tiny winglets are in jet mode, I do kind of like how they make pointy knee bits. I don't know, it's just it's silly, but I do actually kind of like it. Like it kind of separates him a little bit more from that whole Alpha Trion thing. And let's notice how I'm finally starting to learn. I'm moving him off to the side to do the size comparisons now. So, size comparison. Here is our Titans Return Deluxe and our standard Samus amiibo. So yeah, he's not, you know, he's a Voyager or whatever class this is size. He's typical of what you'd expect from that, which I think is just fine. And just for funsies, let's pop these up, because you can still get that little bit of a head turn with that, because, you know, like most of them, you have that pivoting thing. Anyway, yeah, that is Titans Return Broadside. I think I've gone on long enough about this guy. I kind of, don't let my wife know this, but I kind of bought him on a whim. I wasn't being as selective as I normally am when I get my figures. I was kind of I was hesitant to get him because I knew he was mostly a remold of Alpha Trion, and while I don't own Alpha Trion, I do own Leo Prime. I think it's Leo Prime. Yeah, fantastic. Like, if you haven't seen the video for that, you should check it out, because that figure is just amazingly painted. I love that figure. Anyway, because this is so similar to a figure I already have, I was kind of, I don't know, but they had them in Target. I so rarely find these figures in stores in our neighborhood because New York is terrible about stocking current Transformer figures. But yeah, bought him on a whim and ended up liking him a lot more than I expected. He is really, really cool. And I love the boxiness. I love the color scheme. I love the very slight differences with like just the knee pad things here. And then like from here up, it's similar to Leo Prime, but different enough that it doesn't really feel like the same figure. And again, yeah, he's limited by the wing stuff, but there are ways around it. And I actually really like giving him a cape. I don't care if it's accurate or not. I think it's neat. So anyway, that has been my look at Titan's Return Broadside. He is definitely... I'm glad I impulsively picked him up. It's one of the times when a completely unplanned purchase actually worked out in my favor. So, thank you everybody for watching. As per usual, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Any combination of those three would make me a happy Rob. And remember, art is more than meets the eye, and sometimes more than you expect.